Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Volume 3 of Cedille's African Heritage Symphonic Series, featuring the Chicago Sinfonietta under Paul Freeman. Now, Volume 3 is a little different from Volumes 1 and 2 in that it features the gnarlier side of African American composers. In fact, it's one of the more important, I think, recordings featuring African American composers because it shows, as if we even needed to know this, but it's important to make the point that the fact that they're African American, well, sometimes that is part of the sound world, the experience, and sometimes it isn't. They're just composers. And you're either going to like them or you're either not going to like them. And that, see, it's got a little cut there. Sorry about that little crack on its jewel case. But, that's what it really ought to be, shouldn't it? We're just listening to them as composers, contemporary music composers, and we're going to either enjoy what they do or we're not. And that's fine. That's the way the universe ought to work. It so seldom does. So what do we got here? On this particular selection, we have Michael Abels, Global Warming. I know, it kind of sounds like, what was it? Michael Dougherty's, Krypton exploding or something like that in Superman. What can I tell you? I'm not a fan of these, ecological catastrophe or whatever pieces. I mean, they just write a piece of music. You know what I mean? Music has no capacity whatsoever to express the idea of global warming. I mean, it can be depressing, it can be apocalyptic, it can be cataclysmic, you can do all those things. But specifically, global warming, the title and the music are inherently incompatible. So that just, other than that, I enjoyed the piece. I mean, it's not happy, obviously, but, it's tough and it's gnarly and I don't like to be preached at by music. I really don't, a piece of music, even when that's the inspiration or the intent behind it. I think the music should just express itself, and we should leave it at that. I would much rather he called this something like Composition 1, something like that. Anyway, so global warming. Then we've got David Baker's Cello Concerto. This is a good piece. I enjoyed this work. It's not like normal tuneful, but it's well written for the cello. The cellist, by the way, is Katinka Kleijn, who's excellent. It's not a long work. It's only about 20 minutes long. It's never going to get programmed because it's a contemporary, not particularly tuneful, typical work, but I think it's very well written and it's interesting. It was fun to listen to. All of these pieces are gnarly in this sort of the Bartok-Honegger school of gnarlosity. You know what I mean? With lots of dissonance and just a very high level of dissonance and, a lack of a tonal foundation, but they don't ever trespass into dodecaphony particularly. They're just tough. And sometimes tough is fun, a little challenging, which is good for you. It's healthy. Then we've got William Banfield, Essay for Orchestra of 1994. 10 minutes of 1994-ish. Now that's a title I can get into. Essay for Orchestra. Where have we heard that before? Well, Samuel Barber, of course, who invented the Essay for Orchestra. But this is a lovely example of the genre, a powerful and well-written example of the genre. And finally, last but not least, we have Coleridge Taylor Perkinson, born in 1932. All of these people, by the way, well, let me see. They look like, yes, all of them are alive. So, well, at least when this was done, they were all alive, which was around 2000. Coleridge Taylor Perkinson, Generations, Sinfonietta No. 2 for strings. Now, I have no idea what Generations has to do with anything. I don't care. It's a string orchestra fandango with movements called Misterioso Allegro, a la Saraband, a la Borletta, like Rondo Burlesca, Borletta, I like to have a little biting irony and savagery here and there, and Allegro vivace finale. Entirely listenable if you are okay with, like I said, the sort of Bartok school of toughness. And we have, again, the Chicago Sinfonietta under Paul Freeman, who is the leading light behind the promotion of African-American composers. He's a very gifted conductor generally. Cedille's recording is top-notch, as it usually is. This is a wonderful conclusion to this 3-disc set. I'm happy I was able to cover all of them and that Cedille keeps them available. God forbid that we should not have them available, but they've been around for a long time, and I'm hoping that perhaps this series will bring some attention to a very, very worthy collection of recordings. A wonderful, wonderful survey of the music of African-American composers that goes to show that they can do anything just as well as anybody else, or just as badly, depending on how you feel about the music. So listen and judge fearlessly. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.